Anthony Davis, he had a really poor shooting night last night and also had some bad injury luck, which is the normal AD experience, unfortunate as it may be. We're going to watch that video of him that's going viral on the internet today. We're going to talk about Ryan Nembhard, his ascension, what that means for the future of the Mavericks, and his impending new contract. And then also, we're going to talk a little bit about Ty Lue and the drama with him and Chris Paul. Like, that's kind of interesting, of course, because we've still got the Chris Paul situation ongoing. Chris Paul also had some comments on what he plans to do as well that came out yesterday. We're going to talk about in this video. But first, make sure you subscribe to the Basketball Bulletin, where Trevor Lane and I keep you guys informed with all of the content around the NBA, the news, etc. This is the place to be. We're also trying to hit 40,000 subscribers. We're really close. So if you're new here, make sure you do subscribe. Also, because 80% of viewers aren't subscribed, make sure that you are, if you're a regular listener anyway, actually subscribe, because you actually may not be, and that does help us out. We appreciate you. Also hit that like button. Let's get this to a goal of 400. We hit the goals typically, and I appreciate you guys for that as well. All right, so we're going to start off with this clip here from Anthony Davis. We don't actually have sound on it just because, right, we're going to play it here. This is phone recording video, so it's probably okay, but can't risk it. You know how it is. This is a possession last night in the third quarter. AD guarding Chet there. And if you clocked it, AD seemingly got hurt multiple times in that one possession, and then follows up like they need up something. AD does continue this game. He finishes with, I believe, 2-8-6 last night. Just a really, really rough night for him overall. We're going to talk about that a little bit in a second, but just to really, really slow this down here for a bit. AD starts off right here, high post, free throw line. Chet pokes at the ball. Boom. Jams his finger, I presume, right? Jams his finger. And then right here, gets the ball again. Like, this is AD, man. He's a defensive demon, dude. He's a defensive demon. Chet's struggling for his life. And then right here, it's kind of hard to see, but I believe Chet drives his left knee into AD's left knee. And I believe there's also a slight push off with Chet's left, shoulder, elbow right there. It's a tiny little chicken wing. If there is one, maybe there isn't. Maybe just the force of his locking knees with AD sends AD down just because the force of that. But either way, though, Chet then, of course, converts this into a pass for a three with Shea there. But AD holding his knee, gets up limping. Unfortunate as it may be, because AD's a guy that can give you 40, 20 any night. He could get you even up to 10 stocks in a night. He's got such a high ceiling when he's healthy, if he's playing. Yes, the whens, ifs, unfortunately, you have to pull those out. And he's a great player. He really is. But unfortunate as it may be, this is the typical standard AD experience, where if you are rooting for him in any capacity, you're going to see him go down. Your heart will skip a beat. And then he'll pop back up, and he'll mostly be fine. Most of the time, he'll I don't want to say a good chunk of the time, he'll get up and play, because AD, that's not been the Mavs experience, okay? But at least for the last couple of years in LA, that was the case, right? Anyway, I gotta throw the qualifiers in there because it's like, wait a minute. But that's a standard experience, though, in all seriousness. Like, he wants to play, but it seems like his body just doesn't allow him to. For whatever reason, he's constantly getting hurt, and your heart will skip a beat. But like I said, he'll try to play, and that happened. He tried to do it for the Mavs. Like last season, he came back too soon. Call a spade a spade. He came back too soon, gets hurt again. Boom, it's done. This season, he tried to do the same thing. Patrick Dumont was like, hell no, we're not doing that. Not until we get full-on clearance, because this could actually turn into an Achilles injury. Hell no, we're not doing that. So I will give him one thing. He actually wants to play. He's not one of these dudes that's like, oh, no. I'm hurt. I'm going to sit for the entirety of the time. You know who I'm talking about. I'm going to sit for the entirety of the time and some, right? But again, whatever it is, his body just won't allow him to play. And he's constantly getting hurt. He is extremely fragile. It is what it is, right? And that happened here. And he does stay in the game. He does seem fine, but this is just the normal experience. And again, this was going viral on social media. My intention is not to bag on AD, because I've been a very staunch defender of his throughout the course of every time we talk about him on the channel. But, Mavs fans have had a rough going of the AD experience. Bro has glass bones. AD's times with the Mavs so far. Like it genuinely is that. Like he has not been able to be healthy. Got hurt twice in one play for nothing. Rough watch. I think Nico thought this was a good idea. I don't think it's about being soft personally. I don't think that's a mentality thing. Oh my God. Yeah, I forgot this guy from SpongeBob. Okay, that's right. That's going too far. I gotta go. I gotta go. All right. So we're gonna talk about Ryan and what his ascension personally, in my opinion, means for the Mavs going forward. But let me know what your thoughts are on the AD bit of it all. We're gonna be right back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed, this is so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin.
That's my guy Trevor there. He's got me working on my day of birth, but and he had me working on Thanksgiving. No. Okay, let me back up, because sometimes I say stuff like that and people are like, it sounds like you're mad at Trevor. I'm like, dude, I'm being sarcastic. I'm just joking. I love that guy. Like no hard feelings whatsoever. That's my guy there, man. But he's making it on the trip because like I said before, he's the hardest working person I know, but he also is always active and flying and all that stuff. Man, I don't know how he does it, man. Anyway, Ryan Nembhard said, I think we were a little too focused on getting AD the ball, which is true, right? Sometimes we were trying to force feed him. Very rough. The Thunder were all over that too. He said the team could have got 2 feet in the paint more often. That could have been helpful as well. I thought that this post here from Robbie was interesting. Yeah, the Stein report is definitely true. No rookie two-way player is saying, hey, we ain't gonna give this dude the ball every play into a mic without security in their spot on the team. Hell, there are vets that won't say that, and that's true. Like, that's true. And so the report is that they are going to try to convert him ASAP. They're going to figure out a way to get him on a real deal, like not a real deal, but like a actual long-term with the team, non-two-way NBA contract, right? So that's really, really cool. I think he deserves it. I think he's earned it. Frankly, I thought he earned it going into the season, in my opinion. I thought he was good in the summer league. But, with him, he's really interesting to me because he plays a lot like his brother. And I don't say that to diminish him or anything like that. It's just those boys, man, they have a certain calmness to them, a maturity to them, with a grittiness. And I really do like it, right? I believe he's a bit smaller than his brother, but he still plays with that fire. And I really do like that. And I think that the Mavs found something here. And for me personally, he may just be their point guard of the future. There's some reports that maybe Kyrie is the guy they're going to try to build as part of their core. Okay, I guess Kyrie is a bit too old, in my opinion, to be your long-term solution, but maybe he can be the guy for a couple of years while you bring Ryan along and develop Ryan into that more, because I think he's the guy, or he could be the guy for them, of course. And if that is the case, the Mavs actually are really well positioned for a really quick rebuild here. Setting aside whether or not they should trade the vets on this team, they just looking at it from the outside lens, they've got Max, who could be their shooting guard of the future for a long time. Max has been awesome, right? Nice 3-and-D wing, athlete, all that stuff. Like, he's exactly what you would want in that spot. And then secondly, Ryan could also be your point guard of the future. I would say they've got their center of the future in Lively, but he's seeking a second opinion on his injury. He's constantly hurt. He could be that guy, but he's always hurt. Like, it's hard to account for that, right? So you may need to replace that position, unfortunately. But he's great when he's out there, a great defensive monster. And he really needs a playmaker to unlock him. Similarly to AD, by the way. Like, AD would be really good if you had a really good playmaker with him to unlock him. But Lively certainly needs that too. And maybe Ryan can be that. Maybe Coop can be that. But they've got like 3 to 4 positions already, in my opinion, long-term secure, right? And so you're going to get another high pick this year. You could plug in those guys. Maybe if you do decide to trade the vets on this team, you can get back some other younger role player guys to fit around. And all of a sudden, I think within a couple years, you could be back in the playoffs or back in contention for the playoffs. You could be a really, plucky team before this team even enters their prime, before they start getting big deals, all that stuff, right? Like that, I think is really interesting. And again, they're going to get their pick this year. So I'm really, really, really high on the Mavs future, I think. And I think Cooper, man, Cooper started the season slow. And so everyone kind of just wrote him off for some reason. You know how you get those narratives, right? And that just kind of happens. But Coop has been coming on strong. he's been coming on strong lately, man. You know, a fun thing about the Mavs is that we got Ryan here, but let me pull up the Mavs here really quick. One fun thing about the Mavs that I think is that, they actually started playing their players more in their proper positions. Look at you, AD, right? Playing him more at the 5, things like that. All of a sudden, the floor is more open. Stuff looks better. Coop's coming on. Coop is at 17 points per game now, dude. Last time I looked, he was at 16. He's been killing it. Look at this. Look at this log here. I believe he was the youngest player to put 11 assist game together. Then he follows up being the youngest player to put 35 points up. There was that 30-point, 35-point difference going around that same day with him and LeBron, but whatever. 24, 8, 2, 3 stocks, 22, 16. Like and the crazy thing is he can't shoot the ball worth a damn. So like if he was okay in college, but I think that difference is really kicking his butt. Give him another year or two to really put that in his diet, and man, he's gonna be awesome, dude. And then of course the fact that he's a defensive demon too. So like I think he came on weak, didn't come on strong like you would want, and got a narrative on him, and he's legit, man. So Ryan, I wanted to bring him up overall because Ryan's fun because he's doing all this in a really, really short stint because he wasn't playing a ton for the team prior. Like, for example, his first 3-point shot make period came against the Lakers, and the Lakers were leaving him open because it's like this guy hasn't made a 3 yet in any of the games he's played. And then all of a sudden he blows up 3 of 5, 17 points. It's like, oh, this guy can actually shoot. And then look, he's got 81% for what, this month, or in the last few games he's played anyway. 81% from 3. No, that will not sustain, right? But he's been lights out, dude. 4 for 5 against Denver, 3 for 3 against Miami, 2 of 3 last night. But look at the assists and point numbers. He had a 28-10 game against Denver. He had a 15-13 game against Miami. Even last night in a game where everybody struggled, he had 10, 3, and 4. So like, and again, he's 5'11", so he's a smaller guard. Fine, right? But I think he could be their guy, dude. Like, I genuinely do. And that's really cool. Now, obviously, we need to see more of a sample size. Maybe another better option comes along. But I really like what they got going on here overall. So let me know what you guys think on him. Now, moving on, Chris Paul had these comments. I'm just staying ready. I'm hooping right now. I don't know what's next. I'm still scarred by it all. Still processing everything, but I'm staying ready. So Chris Paul doesn't want this to be the end. Excuse me. Let me know if you think this is the end for Chris Paul. Will that have been his final game that we see from Chris Paul? Will he actually make it back into the NBA, continue his farewell tour? That's the part about this all that's kind of crappy, is he was undergoing a farewell tour, which, by the way, I thought was pretty interesting. He said, it came out like 2 weeks ago that he's retiring. But if you remember, that was already out there in the preseason, and just, I guess, everybody forgot in the off. Everybody forgot. We already knew it was his last season. Everybody forgot. So I thought, didn't he do an interview? Who was it with Jamel, right? Like, he did an interview, and he was like, "Oh, this is my last season, this and that," and we just all forgot. He had to remind us. He's like, "Hey, y'all forget my last season." So it's unfortunate though. Like, he obviously wasn't getting the full-on farewell tour like you would expect a LeBron to get, like a Kobe got. Like, he's not on that caliber, right? But for him to not be able to go out on his own terms when I think he deserves that is really unfortunate and very frustrating. And I actually think there's several guys in the league that are at risk of this happening to them, like Russ. I think there's a few other guys that are at risk of it where it's just, you're just gone. You don't get that. You're just gone, right? So I'm curious about that overall for Chris Paul. But, there's been that drama there about how Chris Paul has basically been somebody that he's always been very vocal, but it wasn't the most, the teammates and people around him weren't the most receptive to it, I should say. For example, Chris Paul reportedly told Kawhi Leonard to switch off Klay Thompson because Kawhi was struggling to keep up. Which is like, damn. Jeff Van Gundy then told Chris Paul, you might have had leeway in other places to change up defensive coverages, but you don't have that leeway here, which is certainly interesting. If he's a veteran on the team, what's the problem with him recommending that? He's got that cachet. I don't really understand the problem with that. I got to go back and see exactly when in that game that would have took place. But certainly if he's the point guard out there at the time, wouldn't you be entrusting that to him as well? Like, I understand that maybe the coaching staff would feel some kind of way about that. But LeBron's going to go out there and tell dudes to switch and go tell them to do what. And again, he's not on that same caliber. But at a certain point, I think you're afforded that and have that cachet. And so them saying he doesn't have that here is certainly pretty interesting, right? But I think this is just a smaller thing in the big grand scheme of things, that this has been a constant with them not really appreciating some of the Chris Paul antics overall and just him being so vocal, which like I said, I think that could probably grate on you, especially if you're struggling, right? All that stuff. You're not having the season you wanted, you expected. Winning cures all, but losing also can cause a lot of problems, right? And so they just got to a point where I just think they didn't want to hear it. Right. There was also a couple of things going on with Ty Lue. So Ty Lue basically talked about how he loves DeMarcus Cousins, all that stuff, but then also wouldn't talk to him, didn't want to look, or wouldn't talk to CP, didn't want to look at DeMarcus. Is Ty Lue also a big part of the problem? Frankly, I think the Clippers need a leadership change. You could argue whether or not they need an ownership change, right? But I think they need a leadership change. Ty Lue, Lawrence Frank, I think these guys need to go. Lawrence Frank is getting an extension. He must know where the trees are buried, like we said last time. Maybe Ty Lue does too, but Clipper fans want him gone. All that stuff, certainly really interesting. Speaking of Ty Lue, he's got this video here where he's flaming Chris Paul. I'm not going to play the audio here, but at first I thought this was AI, but no, he's like, literally, he says, FCP, ain't no name knowing ninja. Get the ball, play, and get to your action. He's saying this in a practice, dude. He is. You can literally hear it. Look, I'm not, again, I can't play it, the audio, but he says FCP, blah, 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 blah. Get the ball, get the playing. And saying all that while built like one of those rubber ducks. Just chill, Ty Lue, chill. And look, John pops in. He's dying at the end, dude. Dying at the end. Like, bro, what is happening here? And remember, he don't like him at all. He didn't want to even talk to this dude. Chris Paul requested to see him, and he ducked him. He ducked him. Like, what is happening here? This is insane dysfunction. All the while, we've got the undertone of the still pending investigation into the aspiration stuff. This is a new low. Like, this is just bad. This is just really, really bad. And I know Laker fans are reveling in it. This is just bad, dude. So the Chris Paul situation, I think there's just more to it. Like, obviously, like I said a moment ago, like, these are just little nuggets, but there's more to it than what's come out, than what's been publicized. And I'm sure there's a lot that happened behind closed doors, and maybe even some more, dare I say, scandalous stuff. I don't know. I don't want to instigate anything. I don't know. But overall, at the end of the day, it's been bad, right? It's been bad. There was a report that James was just as shocked as we were. Harden was just as shocked as we were. Not sure I buy it personally. Not sure I buy it. They've got into it in the past. He already knows who CP is. I bet he was opposed to the signing personally in hindsight, right? But again, a lot of that is just they're losing. If you're losing, you just got more stress on you. Certainly if you expected, I'm sure all these dudes, each and every one of these dudes on this team was hopeful and expected to be an actual contending team this season, because on paper they are, right? It's just you forget that also on paper they're like 35 plus everybody else. So like at some point that's gotta matter too, right? But we'll see what happens ultimately in terms of all this stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure that thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.